Good evening and welcome to another episode of The Reload. Of course, it is a Tuesday night, so we back. Joining me as always is Guzz and Zenox. How are you boys tonight?
Hang on, I'm just trying to fix myself here. Just getting in the.
What have you done to yourself? You always need to fix yourself.
I don't know. I don't know what happened exactly. And my mic's not straight either. Look, it's not happening. I think it's the way I've got my camera. I need to change it for the distant future. Unfortunately.
Oh, what a mess, mate.
Well, I'm great. I'm always great. I'm good to be here.
Well, that's good, Guzz. That's good. Look, we have a lot to get through, so we'll try and push on. Obviously, we have recaps coming up for Playdays 3 and 4 that happened last week that had some pretty epic results. We're going to have previews for this week's matches as well, which of course is resuming tomorrow, and some other cool content that always seems to pop up here and there.
There's always content when it comes to the reload, and look, we've got. Are we halfway through the season now? I think we are. We're actually past halfway through the season, right? So lots to talk about, lots to dissect. Yeah, it's time to reload and get going.
Yep. Well, and of course we have the best segment as well, content of the week later on too. So
of course, yeah.
So
your segment, right, Guzz?
Quick promo, yeah.
Yeah.
No, hang on.
Yeah, it's no argument. He doesn't even have an argument.
This is the forever battle, right? Is who has the best segment. Just you guys wait till Manic's back on, and then we'll see. Look, Zenox did mention dissection, and we do have a special guest on tonight that is not Ducky this week. It is going to be Vast from Elevate, so we'll be having him join us quite soon. And something special that's also not happened in previous episodes is we're going to be doing a couple of live analysis breakdowns of some Elevate rounds from last week, 2 rounds in particular. So we'll get to see some insight from Vast into their strategies and things that worked for them and things that didn't quite work out. But yeah, look, keen to move forward. Obviously a big game was that game between Elevate and Wildcard. It was Wildcard coming out on top in a pretty strong win in the end. So while we wait for Vast to join in on us, we are going to give you guys this little highlight clip that was posted by Diesel on socials that included the Wildcard comms in the match winning rounds. And we'll be right back.
So skinny. Guy down here, Rock's so skinny.
Only looks left to the side, it's super low and then it's clash.
You want me to push TV? I'll push TV, yeah?
Probably
Yeah, let's just push, let's go.
Jack's in the basement, just gonna come out red.
Care long desk. Care long desk.
Red, coming up now, coming up red.
That's Rock on side. Kill the clash.
Red dead.
Kill the clash. Running CEO. Just hold me. Let's go! Yes!
Alright, that was a great clip.
Was it? I didn't even watch it.
Oh my god, Zenox, what are you doing, mate? Look,
it might have been great for us, but maybe not so much for Vast. So we do apologize in advance.
That's fine. That clip's just looping in my head since the game. So.
Yeah, look, it was a rough game for you guys, but thanks for joining us on the show, Vast. It's a pleasure to have you on. So maybe we'll just start off with you introducing yourself to everybody that may be unaware of who you are and what you do.
Hi everyone, I'm Vast. If you don't know who I am, I'm the captain and the IGL for Elevate. I'm a professional R6 player, that's kind of why I'm here, and that's basically it. I don't know, nothing else to it.
Yeah, nice. It's easy, right?
Yeah.
Love it. Cool. So yeah, we will just start diving into these recaps. So Wednesday, of course, had some pretty big games. We're gonna have some more highlights for you straight up. So you get to see some of the cool plays that all came out on Wednesday. And as soon as we get back from the cool plays, we'll be talking about all the results. So enjoy it.
So as it stands, Okami should be able to convert this round off the back of that first pick. That said, though, Digital on the roam finds one. Could well find a second. Hits the shot. That's huge in this round, and Elevate find themselves back in it.
Spacker does get the knockdown onto Worthy, who's subsequently eliminated by Cutie. Now can start to push in the hallway. Ippy still finds a knife on a God Leech, and Ippy looking for a second one, though. Does not win that exchange against Hotshot. And it's down to a 1 versus 2. Cutie pushes in, finds a double, looking for now a third. 5 seconds left, but doesn't have the diffuser in hand. Unfortunately, doesn't even spot Digital. And so Elevate will break up this streak of 1-for-1. They'll take themselves a bit of a lead into the next half. Getting onto that diffuser right now is Jack Dad. Joker's still around there. Digital drops down. Joker helps out by getting Worthy. Does get Digital as well. They get one back. And maybe, just maybe, not all hope is lost yet, Guzz.
So, for Rhythm to try and attempt to plant, the sound cue goes out wildcard. Need to try and deny Ring. He could wide swing potentially, but it's covered. That's a great play there from Rhythm. The diffuser's stuck. It's a triple for Leb, and Vinny left all alone below. Needs to try and recover the round, but I don't think it's going to be doable. It's now going for the plant wildcard, seemingly distracted, but Pat's not. Manages to find that first pick. Courtyard hasn't been cleared here by Rhythm. The refrag does eventually hit the mark though from Boats. They can now collect that diffuser, try and go for the plant.
Dear.
That's a big pick as well from Stick. Surely wildcard can't deny it now.
Yeah, just couldn't get back behind the pillar in time. Drex is just going to stick that diffuser now. 3 versus 1. Rhythm, as soon as they got that opening frag, they just flicked a switch and they went go. Wildcard, who was the first to blink, they made the push and an unsuccessful one of that. Bad timing from Emerin. Fortunately has one on the right side, can get that one. Goes to the second. 2 in a row from Emerin. Quick headshots, but there's no time to get this diffuser down. 2 versus 1. Rhythm are going to win the round. Almost a clutch moment from Emerin. Which has deserved a big, big pat on the back. Oh, whoa! Vinny, calm down. These people have got families. I'm just like holding my breath right now for him, and he doesn't even realize. Just back away. Just run.
Oh, Nico!
What? Oh, no, not like
such
this.
a Nico play. Oh my word. Noble might be susceptible to some verticality now.
Oh, double kill from Nate. Just starting to find a bit of rhythm here.
They need to win them, or they're going to be torn apart.
Well, there's 1, there's 2 from Mims as we watch Sox push in. The gas gunner, wow, 3 in 3 seconds essentially from LFO. They haven't been pushed apart at all. Fisher guy cannot win this one. Mims was so determined. Mims ended up basically with an ace, I think. At this point, 33 seconds left.
Sushi can go in for the plant here, but they need to be mindful of that wide swing from Freezer. So Todd will have to find probably 2 if they quickly go around the corner. And there we go. Josh has already shut it down this round. Go the way of the Knights, I would imagine. There we go. They trade it out. 4 straight for the Knights.
Down to just Todd in a 1 versus 1. Dino can get the diffuser down and should not be stopped by Todd unless it's from below. C4, that's primed perfectly placed. Todd, what a C4 onto Dino. Sends us down to the basement, 6-5.
Oh, that is not the right source to have open. Here we go.
Debated.
Debated. Look, there was some
Well
pretty
done.
big highlights from the Wednesday. You two casted it, being Guzz and Zenox. How did you feel overall of the play day?
I'll let you go first, Guzz.
I think it was a pretty exciting play day. As we sort of talked a little bit off broadcast, I wouldn't say any of the results stood out to me as upsets in any sense. Just working our way down, they all seem to be the results that we predicted to occur, but some of those matchups maybe a little bit closer than we would have expected, especially that second one of the night was quite a gripping match.
Was that it? That's all you're gonna say? I'm still fixing my mic here.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's it. I'm a man of few words.
I think. Hang on. So firstly, I just want to say you had the wrong play day up and you fixed it. Well done.
Yeah, I
Good
fixed
job,
it now.
right?
Yep.
Okay, I can't fix my mic though. Apparently. Whatever.
You're a mess, mate. Far out.
I am a mess tonight. I thought it was really good. Although I will say that I was expecting Akami Elevate to be closer than it was, and obviously we got the wonderful Vast on here. Maybe we can shed a bit more light on that. I felt like Elevate dominated Akami. Who did I end up tipping for that? I can't actually remember.
I appreciate it, Akami.
Actually, I probably tipped Akami, so that goes against what I said
think
about
I-
expected results. But
Yeah, hang on. I need to just quickly take 2 seconds here. Go scroll up. Okay, so I did in fact tip Akami. Sorry about that one, Vast. Obviously,
He saw
I
the
was
head shake.
wrong.
He's not happy.
I was wrong. But no, look, obviously the fact is, and I think the majority of us actually tipped Akami for this matchup. So it goes to show that in the end, while it wasn't a surprise to see Elevate win it, I did think it was going to be closer. And I did think if Elevate were to win it, it would have been something like 7-4, 7-5. So I think it goes to show it's one of those things, right, where obviously Akami will sit back and say, okay, we didn't play our best, but then Elevate will sit back and say, actually, we played pretty well and you guys just sucked. So Elevate should obviously be very happy with that one. As for Akami, though, they got some problems. Fortunately for them, there's 2 teams below them, I think, even have more problems. But it's disappointing to see the way Akami have been playing so far in Oceanic Nationals compared to 6 Masters. And just sort of looking ahead just quickly, they've got the hardest final 3 games to go. In fact, I don't see them winning a game from here. So Akami could very well be in the bottom 2 by the end of it if all the hypotheticals.
Big call.
No, well, I'm serious. I mean, they've got Noble.
This is coming from the man who said Noble wouldn't lose another map for the rest of the season. Remember?
Well, they've got Noble, Pittsburgh, and Wildcard. So I'm not just speaking completely, nonsense here. Like, those are some really tough matchups that Akami are going to have to push through to find their 3rd win and secure playoffs. Otherwise, I think Ducky, our ever lovely Ducky, did say that you can make top 6 off just 2 wins, which I think will end up being the case for Akami. But yeah, they've got some work to do. Fortunately, they did pick up the much needed win the next night, which we'll touch on later.
Yeah, but look, you spoke about Elevate. Obviously, we do have Vast here. Tell us about the game with Akami. Speak broadly about how did you guys feel? Obviously, you got the victory. What was the vibe throughout the game and going into it?
At the start, I think on defense we actually kind of felt a bit nervous, and I know a lot of the boys actually told me after the game they felt a bit nervous, and even myself, I wouldn't say I was nervous, but I was kind of struggling to sometimes read what they were trying to do on defense, and me having that feeling, struggling with that, I wasn't really able to IGL the way I wanted to IGL. So we were a little bit sloppy on defense. We weren't really sure what was going to happen, but I don't know. When we got on attacks, just everything went our way, and after the first attack win, everything was just kind of flowing. A lot of the comms and the callouts picked up heaps, so we felt a lot more in control at the end of the second half of the game than the first.
Yeah, nice.
Cool. I mean, that's what it looked like to us. So,
yeah, definitely. I think it was close until halftime, right? And then it was just one way after that. Yeah. Nice. Well, how about this wildcard rhythm game then? Because I think this is probably... I mean, all these matches were pretty solid on the Wednesday, but I feel like the wildcard rhythm game was probably the match of the night, right? Would you tend to agree with that?
I mean, obviously for reasons outside the player control, it probably went a little bit longer than we would have liked. But with that aside, I think Rhythm played probably some of the best Siege we've seen in a while. I mean, and that sort of continues along this upwards trajectory that they have established throughout this season. And I'm expecting them only to better as the results continue or the games continue. So look, it was unfortunately a loss for Rhythm. No draws means that they don't take any points, but I think it was still a very, very solid performance from them. And it's hard to say if Wildcard necessarily performed poorly in that matchup. It did feel quite even throughout. So props to Rhythm for putting up a really good fight. That's probably the takeaway for me for that one.
Yeah, I have to agree as well that it's almost unfortunate that you don't get brownie points for sending it to OT against Wildcard, which not a lot of teams are going to be able to do. Wildcard do look a little bit weaker than they did in Six Masters, but still, to Rhythm's credit, they played it really well. I will say, though, there's a slight asterisk to this simply because of the fact that it was on Coastline, and I think that map just opens things up a bit more for Rhythm compared to some of the more structured maps. And I think because of that, they were able to get a few more rounds against Wildcard, whereas if we were on, I don't know, something like Clubhouse, I think Wildcard probably win that something like 7-4, 7-3. So you do have to take that into account, obviously. And, you know, we mentioned that on the broadcast as well. But that doesn't take anything away from Rhythm. And I actually said on the broadcast as well, I didn't think Wildcard played all that badly. This is not like oh, Wildcard played really bad. They had a really low night, like, and that's the reason why Rhythm got close. Like, it just looked like two really good teams going head to head, and unfortunately, Rhythm just don't know how to win right now. They're like getting to those close moments. They haven't been in those winning positions. Back when they were under Kanga in Six Masters, they were getting blown out, so they weren't close. They weren't close games, so they didn't really learn how to win. And I think this is just that next step for them as a team. And as I sort of said last week on the reload and on the broadcast, they're going to have a lot of games that are going to be a lot closer. And you can see that in their map differential, -11. Obviously, it doesn't seem great, but what was by the end of Six Masters, it was something like -50. So,
That was a bit,
and obviously,
yeah.
but you look at their past games, like 8-7 against Elevate, that's pretty close. And obviously now 8-6 against Wildcard, and still a couple 7-3s, but they haven't been belted. They haven't been humiliated in any match so far in Oceanic Nationals. They're getting better. They're getting there, and they're putting themselves in these positions where they can go and get the wins. And I'm very much excited for tomorrow night against LFO. Obviously, we'll dissect that later. That's going to be an interesting one, but good signs for Rhythm.
Yeah. How did you guys feel about this one, Vast? Like, obviously, you would have been able to watch this, given it was after your game. Like, what were you guys thinking with this result and just how it all played out?
Oh yeah, like props to Rhythm. Yeah, later down the game we weren't even sure who was going to win it, and those are really good games when you have no clue who's going to win it. Definitely Rhythm have shown a lot of promise this season. And like Zenox said, like learning to close out games like that will just come with experience. You'll figure out how to play that late game and understand how to like close out games, because there's more pressure and stuff like that later down the game. So but yeah, it was a really good game to watch, and definitely my probably my favorite game to watch this week, that play day as well.
Yeah, look, I was really impressed with Rhythm. Like Zenox said, it's not like Wildcard played terrible. Like, they actually looked like they were playing somewhat well. Definitely not as strong as you would expect Wildcard to play, but they were still playing really well. So I think that was my biggest takeaway, is that Rhythm were going toe-to-toe with what I'd say is maybe like an 80% Wildcard, maybe 90% Wildcard, which, yeah, look, I think that's a good achievement for them, again, given the context of how they were playing in Six Masters. So, yeah, good stuff. Noble LFO was also a close one. I mean, they were all close on this evening besides that first one, like you can see here. But LFO looked like they were going to be on a bit of the comeback train here to get this match.
Yeah, so obviously this was the first matchup of any Oceania team outside of the major on Oregon. So that was a little bit of a curveball in that sense. So we weren't entirely sure what to expect necessarily from these teams heading in. We did have, of course, some background meta and VODs, etc., from the other regions that have played it, but OCE being OCE is always a little bit crazy sometimes. That said, I don't think we saw anything too ridiculous come out from these teams. Yeah. Both of them didn't look 100% polished, and that's probably the reason why it was so close in the end. But I think sort of continuing on from what we mentioned in regards to Rhythm, Noble with that experience and not having probably as much pressure on them in terms of the season standings, were able to just close out the match, and LFO unfortunately just didn't quite have that extra gear at the end of that map.
I was not expecting to see Oregon until actually this week. I was expecting it this week. I guess maybe we were wrong in that regards.
You were wrong. You were wrong. Well, I wasn't wrong.
You were kind of with me on the broadcast. You were a bit shocked as well. Let's be real. Don't shake your head. It's interesting though, because obviously Oregon was not in the map pool for Six Masters, and this being only my second Rainbow event casting wise, I've never casted Oregon before. I have played it and I know the map, but never casting it. So that was a fun little 2 games in a row. I literally jumped in the hyperbolic time chamber and I've learnt the map. I feel like I know it all now. I mean, it went kind of as expected. I think because of the fact that it was the first time we had seen Oregon for this season at that particular match, Noble versus LFO. Not too surprising to see that sort of scoreline. Both teams were kind of walking through the map blindly, it felt like. I think especially in Noble, I'm pretty sure in the interview after, I can't even remember who it was. Nico, yeah, did take them a few rounds to get warmed up onto the map. So I think it was a good tussle. LFO looked better, especially going up against what was at the time a very informed Noble before their demise on Playday 4. So I took a lot of good things out of that from LFO. Mims was balling out, and I think it goes to show you what the best for them can look like, which is sort of following Mims's lead, and if they can do that, they should be able to find a couple wins in the back half of the season.
Yeah, look, it was good to see Mims back in form because it felt like he hadn't really had an impact in Oceanic Nationals like we were seeing in Six Masters. The other thing I was thinking too is this whole week was obviously Noble's backup after they successfully beat Wildcard in week 1. And we talked about maybe, I mean, you were very confident that they weren't going to lose another map, Zenox, but there were some points.
I was very confident.
There were some points brought up though that maybe the Wildcard win might make them either complacent or overconfident, or even feel more pressure to try and maintain that top level that people would be now expecting of them. So maybe part of that was at play here as well, the fact that they only just scraped through this victory against LFO, who...
I wouldn't say they only scraped through. I think that's probably the wrong way of putting it. I thought Noble at all times throughout that match looked like they were going to win it. It was just that LFO were being that little pest, a bit annoyance, and in the end, Noble sort of just brushed them aside, 7-5, which is a respectable scoreline for LFO, but it's still a win for Noble without even being pushed to OT. So, yeah, I think we'll discuss more about Noble in the next Playday.
Yes, I have no doubt. Vast, did you have anything that you want to add to this game?
To be honest, I can't really remember too much what happened in the game. I did watch it, but yeah, I mean, the only thing I can really add is, yeah, Noble are looking pretty good. Obviously, there was a lot of questions whether, you know, they'd be able to stay at the top where they are without Vinny, but I think, yeah, they're playing really good Siege this season. Yeah, I can't really remember the game too much. Been seeing a lot of Oregon lately, so everything. But yeah.
Yeah, look, Oregon is the global craze right now. I'm curious to see
three Oregon in a row, by the way, between the.
If we get more than 2 Oregons tomorrow night, I'm just throwing in the towel.
Okay,
get someone else into cast.
We've been waiting for a reason, so here we go.
Oh, jeez.
All right, we got one more game to get through. It was Knights and Ferox, and of course the Knights are in probably their hottest form ever, outright on the top right now. But they were severely challenged by Ferox. So, look, I didn't quite catch all this match, to be completely honest. So, you guys casted it. How did it go down? Like, what was the vibe here?
Well, I guess the best benchmark we have to compare it to would have been the game earlier, being, of course, Noble and LFO, rather. And really, just from memory, it felt like it was probably a little bit cleaner across the board. I could just be talking absolute rubbish, but it did feel like it was a little bit more competitive and a bit more refined, potentially. But that could also be the fact that PK, especially across the board, tend to be a little bit more structured in that sense. I think, again, it was just an expected result. Again, Ferox probably pushed it a bit further than maybe we would have anticipated, considering PK are in this red-hot sort of form. I don't think there's any major takeaways from this matchup that I can remember, at least.
Yep.
Yeah, it's really tough to take too much away from this. Obviously, Knights just sort of got the job done on a unfamiliar map. Ferox continued to... Well, actually, for Ferox, I felt like getting at 7-5, maybe at the time as the result happened, didn't think as much of it, but now looking at where it's definitely at in terms of their map differential, still undefeated, it's actually a pretty good result for Ferox. And thinking back to the match, what really the difference was those 50-50s. Like, Dorms was the site you pretty much had to win if you wanted to win Oregon, and Ferox just struggled a bit more on Dorms than, say, Basement, for instance, which most teams were, I think, like a 90% win rate defending Basement. So when it came down to either attack or defense, it was all about that Dorms, which was very, very open for both attackers and defenders, and Ferox just couldn't quite get it as much as Knights. And that was really the main takeaway, was the difference was it. Like, there wasn't that big of a difference. I thought the rounds were clean both sides, had some good rounds, bad rounds. Ferox were just 10-15% less than Knights in terms of ability, and that's the difference there. And that's not a bad thing for Ferox. I think it's a really, really good thing. And where many probably predicted them to be potentially bottom 2 material coming into Oceanic Nationals, I think they've proven by now, at the very least, with 3 play days to go. I think most people would be surprised to see them in the bottom 2 now, based off the way they've performed. So, I mean, Ferox have got Elevate, they've got Wildcard, and then they've got LFO. They only have to find 1 win from any of those 3 games. I think they'll be able to do that.
Yeah, look, they are looking really good, Ferox. So are the Knights. So I think that was a really telling contest. In particular, the Knights, look, I'm really curious because they have been in such good form right now. And Vast, you guys did play them in week 1, I believe, right? That was your first game.
Yep.
How was that experience? Did they feel particularly different to last season? Like, what was your perspective from being in the game up against it?
Yeah, there's a really big difference from versing them last season to now. I think right now their defenses are like really good. They probably have the best defense in ANZ in my opinion. They're really consistent with it. I think right now they have a big issue with their attack, which it does happen. It's happened to our team plenty of times where, you know, you get those phases where your attack's like really good, your defense is bad, and then it flips, and then, you know, but yeah, they're not making as much mistakes as last season, which it's harder to like exploit them, I guess. But yeah, I definitely feel like looking back at our game, we got to winning attacks against them is really important, and especially in like the situation they're in right now. So definitely throwing a couple you know, curveballs, like throwing something they may have not seen at them, really test their ability to adapt. I think is definitely the play. But yeah, they're looking really good this season with a kind of newish lineup, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Anything else to add for play number 3, or did we just whiz through that, or what?
No, I think it was a pretty stock standard play day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Sweet.
Was there any surprises on the board there? Not really.
Maybe the first game, which I kind of overlooked.
No surprises.
Obviously not for Vast. No surprises for Vast, 100%.
Yeah.
Cool. Are we ready for the next segment? Right.
Are you a bit excited about the next segment? Are you guys?
Oh, I'm very excited. So, obviously, as I do every week, scoured the internet for some content, and for this week, I actually found some wise words of wisdom. And of course, playing in the caster stack, some of the members can be a little bit difficult to carry at times. So these tips are really for them, and they know who they are. Roll the clip.
Here we go.
Now presenting Guzz's content of the week. Mom, get the camera!
And now for your daily verse of the Siege Bible. Just because thou is plat does not make thou good. Carried plat 3:7. And now for your daily verse of the Siege Bible. Thou shan't be on his phone during prep phase. That trash teammate 7-2.
So, of course, if you guys didn't know who those clips were intended for, it is the lovely Raven. My back is still really tight. We haven't actually played ranked in a while, but it's still quite sore. So, got to get that checked out. So, hopefully he listens to that advice.
Look, all I'm going to say is sometimes it's great for a boomer like me to be carried a little bit. And it's not Guzz, I tell you what, but he might have back.
Hey, you played Pro League, man. No excuses. You played Pro League. I don't want to hear any excuses out here.
I'm washed as, mate. Haven't you heard?
I guess that's why you're a caster. Hey, that's why we're all casters. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I guess so. Look, fantastic. I love it. Moving right on to Playday number 4 on the Friday. That was the one that casted by Manic and myself. Bit of a different story, honestly, to the Wednesday. The Wednesday was generally all close games, very tight affairs, and Friday was just really not the case. As you can see with the score lines there, most of them
no rehosts.
Pretty distant. Yes, no rehosts. That has to be a record,
I had a look
right?
at the VODs, and it was about our cast Guzz went for about an hour longer than.
Yeah, I don't know who's writing these scripts, but these other two are just they do half the work that we do. Honestly, it's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
Look, it was
And also,
such a-
can I just say with this first matchup here between Akami and LFO, Ducky did me dirty. He on the broadcast he had me as tipping LFO, but I had actually tipped Akami, so that was his mistake. Okay, I did tip Akami. It's in the Discord where I sent it to him. I messaged him after the broadcast. I was not happy.
It wouldn't be his first mistake, to be honest.
But what I will say is, because he made that mistake, essentially I got a freebie because if LFO had have won, I just wouldn't have said anything.
Oh, listen to you. Oh, classic. Well, look,
That's what he gets for making the mistake.
Lucky for you, me being the only one that had the Okami graphic at least on broadcast.
We could have been laughed at together by Rob, and then we both could have laughed at Rob.
Yeah, look, and lucky I didn't laugh at you as well. Like I didn't specifically call you out or anything. So, look, I think you're lucky. How about Vast? You want to take the start of this game? I don't know. Were you able to catch this game? Or were you already prepping for your wildcard match?
I think I was able to watch the first couple. I think the third one is where, obviously we're doing some prepping, getting ready for the game. But yeah, the Akami, it was on Oregon, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Pretty standard, to be honest. Felt like it was quite a big back and forth. I feel like it was pretty similar to the whole, what Zenox was saying about the other game, with kids and stuff like that. Yeah, it was not an expected result, but it was a convincing result, I would say. Nothing really else to add to it.
Yeah. Look,
yeah. I can't even remember it. Maybe you take us through it, Raven. You.
Yeah. Look, I was just gonna say I tend to agree. I mean, it was a close-ish first half, but then it kind of just got away from LFO. And the good thing from my perspective is that Okami did well without somebody really excelling. Like it wasn't Ippy style just going off with like 17 kills, and it wasn't Specker either. It was kind of more of a team affair, which I think is a really good sign for them, because in the past it was really often, like especially even before they picked up Specker, 9 times out of 10 it was either Ippy style going off, or even Cutie had some of those big frag games for Okami in Six Masters, for example. Whereas this game this week against LFO, or last week I should say, it was a real team effort. Like you saw Cutie getting his fair share, Ippy style. Specker probably had one of the quieter games, in fact, but yeah, like they still pulled through. So I think that was a really important thing. More of a storyline for me is that LFO they really struggled to pull together some cohesive plays. Like their team play looked quite off for a lot of those rounds. It's something that Enigma talked about in the interview, is that some of their decision making and their comms was a bit all over the place, and it was really resulting in them just losing even early advantages. I remember there was a couple of rounds they had maybe 4 versus 3 man advantages coming into like the final halves of the rounds, and just being unable to close it out. So I think that's definitely a big concern for LFO, given that they are in total danger zone right now.
Yeah. I don't really have anything else to add to that. Do we want to move on to the next game? I'll take that as a yes.
You don't have anything to say, Zenox?
The only thing I'll say, I actually, quite frankly, didn't watch any of the games for Playday 4. I was busy. I had obligations, so I'm just going to be quite frank there. But what I will say is that this was a big matchup for LFO and for Akami. So obviously there's ramifications here. Now LFO is still without a win. Going into this match, the only team that Akami had beaten was Rhythm, so they really weren't looking too flush either. And it felt like a redemption game for both teams, and obviously only one could walk out as winners. And I think for Enigma and for LFO, they would have been disappointed at a team that they would consider around their level, or you would hope that they would consider that, based off at least the past couple of weeks. Yeah, didn't probably put up as much of a fight as they would have liked. I would have liked to have seen that one go to OT, and I would have felt a little bit better about the loser of it. But yeah, move on to Knights at Noble. Unfortunately, my My prediction came crashing
Yeah,
down.
let's go. I was right. Even though I didn't think it was
Look.
going to be this game, but I was right.
I did think that if it was going to come undone, it was going to be this one. And that if it did happen, then obviously for the Knights, huge for them to get this win. But I want to ask Vast in particular about where he thought both teams were at coming into this. Like when you would have seen this matchup, Vast, Knights, Noble, both undefeated. Who did you back essentially? Who were you like? Yeah, they should win, or what were your thoughts?
My thoughts were it just depends the map that they're gonna go to. A clubhouse. I haven't really scrimmed these teams much, so I don't really know who was looking like the favorites coming into clubhouse. But I feel like I was leaning more towards Knights just from what I've seen so far, and obviously I've versed Knights, so I was definitely leaning towards Knights.
Yeah. I think as most people were, I think Zenox is just in his own little bubble about Noble just not losing another game. I don't know.
Bias caster. I mean,
I think you can make a case that coming into this, both teams had positives and negatives. More positives, obviously, because they were undefeated. You know, you look at like, a lot of the results, for instance, like Knights and Noble week 1 7-5 against their opponent, which was Elevate and Ferox. Then week 2, Noble beats Wildcard, which was a big win, but Pittsburgh 7-1 LFO, which still to this day is the biggest stomp we've seen in Oceanic Nationals. And then for Playday 3, they both 7-5 to their opponents, which was LFO and Ferox. So you could kind of get a bit of an idea just off those 3 results. If that's all we're looking at, how close these 2 teams were. One had the map differential because of the stomp against LFO, but the other one had the big scalp, which was Wildcard. So who did you really want to back there? And I think as Vast put it perfectly, I think it came down probably to the map. I think Noble actually might have won if they had have taken it to something like Oregon. I could have actually seen them winning it on something like Oregon or something a bit different, but 7-3 was more than anything the biggest surprise. Now,
yes,
despite my attempt to wind people up and have a bit of a joke and about Noble going undefeated, Knights were very much capable of winning this, like without a doubt. I probably look at this as being going into it. I thought it would have actually been one of the more 50-50 matchups, but 7-3.
Yeah.
When I saw that scoreline, I was like, "What the hell happened?" Like this was supposed to go to like OT. This was at least maybe a 7-5. But you casted it, Raven. I think maybe you can speak a bit more for it as to Knights' dominance, and I think specifically Hayward.
Yes. Oh, look, Hayward had such a good game. Josh as well. Josh has also been a very consistent performer in general for the Knights, and but those 2 were just tearing the Noble apart. I think the bans also didn't work well for Noble. So Noble banned Sledge as the first attacker, and then the Knights banned Buck. And Noble somebody that leans a lot on the Buck usage in general, but obviously verticality through either Buck or Sledge. So they tried to get very creative by playing a lot of Fuse. Of course, it was Nico, the one playing Fuse.
Of course it was.
It didn't really work out to much success. In fact, it was really costing him because the amount of times he just died to vertical holes in Kitchen in particular with the Fuse on Clubhouse, it really wasn't working out. That being said, did do a VOD review, and I did see that actually the way that he was placing the Fuse cluster charges wasn't actually vertically in Kitchen, which is what we initially thought because it wasn't quite captured. He was placing them on Kitchen window and busting them into Kitchen to then open up the floor, which I thought was actually really clever.
Okay.
But it didn't.
Yeah, that's a little clever.
It still didn't work out, and I think they just failed to be able to execute maybe their normal plays based on, I think, just that one little disablement within their composition.
I guess that raises the question, do you think they shot themselves in the foot by banning out the Sledge, right? Because they banned second from memory, so they would have known that Buck was off the board, so Nico was already half nerfed.
I think they banned first, actually. I feel like I remember checking that today. I think they banned first.
Okay.
But that does lead me to a question.
Still raises the question though, like, should they have banned the Sledge out? Because then PK being PK could have, like, if they did ban second, they literally just completely nerfed Nico, who heavily relies on one or the other.
Yeah.
It's like, look, I think what Guzz is getting at here is you've kind of put Knights into this position where it's like, all right, we're going to ban this out. And then Knights are like, okay, well, now we just ban out that other thing.
Yeah.
Now you got nothing.
Yeah.
Whereas
Look,
if you don't ban that out, at best they get rid of one, but you can't.
I think that is also, it's just one instance of a couple of occasions throughout that just matchup in general that I feel like Noble kind of outplayed themselves. And that's not me trying to take anything away from Knights. They were 100% dominant. They capitalized on every mistake. So that's what great teams will do. But I just feel like...
Did Noble want to keep some
Noble
strats?
did ban the sledge first.
Did Noble play at 110% in this matchup?
I don't think they played their full strength, but I think they were also their worst enemy. Like, I don't think they were really helping themselves get to that. And I think it was a mixture of them maybe not playing as strong as they would have expected from themselves, and also the Knights being incredibly strong.
If they don't bounce back next week, then they've shot themselves in the foot by not playing full strength against the Knights, I reckon.
It's just sometimes how it
if
works
they've got
out.
themselves in this mentality.
Yeah, I think the op bans, I don't really fault Noble for that. It is Clubhouse, you would expect, you know, your Thatcher and Hard Breach bans. But I guess now it's like, you know, now for the future, you know that you've got to be really careful with Knights because they do like their counter bans. We figured that out last season. But yeah, I would never expected a double vertical ban.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, it definitely did test, I guess, Noble's ability to adapt.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with the rest.
I'd definitely love to actually hear your insight, Vox. It's something I've said a couple of times now on broadcast. We start to see, like, I would actually say it's quite a decent amount of sledge bans. Like, is this something that you guys have done before? Or what is the rationale behind the sledge ban? Because honestly, I can't really wrap my head around why that would be, like, the go-to ban for some teams.
I think we were planning to do it a couple, like, one of these games on another map, and it didn't end up happening, but I think the reasoning was obviously Buck losing his nades. I think the reasoning, it does depend on the map, but I think the reasoning is so that teams have to think about their lineups. Because if you want to bring nades now, you need to bring the Maverick or the Iana. So if you're going to swap the Buck to replace the sledge ban, then you're not having nades, and it kind of can change your strats if you're leaning on those nades to get certain picks or clear, like, you know, certain stuff.
Interesting.
But yeah, I think that's what's happening now.
Interesting.
Now, just touching on it while we're talking about the topic, and I could be completely off the mark here, and
Probably
let me know if I am. Probably. But I have no idea, because obviously I'm fairly new to all this. I'm not going to deny that, but is there a possibility, and it's just open for all of you to discuss it, I guess, the banning of things like sludge and sludge. Sledge. Sledge and Buck. With the addition of Ace now, like, we've gone back a bit to Six Masters, you know, at times we'd see like a double hard breach ban on certain maps.
Yeah.
And that was something that you could try and employ, was like, okay, they ban out one hard breach, we'll ban out a second, and there's like only, I think at the time there was only like one left available or something, right? Whereas now it's like, okay, Ace is there, we can't ban out, like, if you could take two hard breaches out, there's still two left on the table. But if we try and ban out verticality, you can actually get that pool really dwindled down. Is that something that's maybe players have shifted thought process to? If you want to answer this one, Vast, I guess, is that something at all that's been spoken about?
I do kind of agree that it's kind of like there's too many hard breaches now with one ban. It has brought the question, is it worth it? I think for us, because we actually had Ace ban against us on Cafe, so I use this as an example from Knights, and we played a lot of Ace on Cafe, and we relied a lot on those smokes as well. Just having the hard breacher with smokes just helped our attack so much. So that specific ban just changed so much for us. I guess it's just more, yeah, kind of how you want to play around the hard breach ban. But yeah, it's less common nowadays because you are right, there's a lot of hard breaches, so it's like, is it worth anymore? But I think people are, yeah, going into like a new direction with bans. because we never would have seen vertical bans like, you know, a while ago.
Yeah. I think connecting some of the dots that you've just spoken about, it seems like there's a more common trend maybe coming in where you're banning about either utility combinations or even more so based on secondary, because you said the sledge can be based maybe about the frags more so, and Ace you said is very strong because he also brings smoke grenades. So it's like maybe it's more about looking at some of that secondary stuff that gets brought and the impact that has and banning around that. I don't know, this is the two dots that I just kind of heard come up just then. Maybe that is the trend moving forward. To circle back to Knights of Noble and wrap this up, because we've just talked about this game for ages. Something else that was a bit of a standout for me is that, yeah, as we said, the attack bans were Sledge and Buck. So Thatcher was up, all the hard breaches up. Should be easy peasy, right? Noble were not bringing Thatcher. They were forcing Maverick to open like hatches. They were bringing like the other hard breaches, but to me, it felt like they were just making it more complicated than it needed to be in like a lot of different areas. Like Dope took, I don't know, 45 seconds maybe to open bar hatch with Maverick, which was electrified, when it just felt like they could have had Nico bring Thatcher, just EMP it, open it up. Like, it's just a lot more simple. It felt like they were trying to be a bit cute, you know, with some of their strats. Yeah.
Cool.
Well, let's move on, I think, to
do it.
Ferox Rhythm before we get kind of stuck into Knights Noble forever. I think, looking at this scoreline, I just think that's about what I would have expected. Despite Rhythm showing improvements this season in games, I think Ferox, to their credit, with their new look lineup, have been impressive. They've been fun to watch, and it's really still a match they should be winning. And I think the scoreline kind of says that 7-3 for Ferox is a good result, considering Rhythm a pretty decent team this season now, at least in terms of the in-match performances.
Yep. The only thing I really have to add on to this matchup, because I don't necessarily remember watching it, if I did, would be that this is a match that maybe at the start of the season or during the preseason, we would have looked at it and gone, this might be a 50-50. This might be a game that Rhythm could actually edge out on top and get one of maybe their only win or second or only 2 wins of the season. But clearly Ferox have stepped up their game and Rhythm just aren't at that level. Simple as that.
Yeah, look, I think the big takeaway for me was just that Ferox are looking really strong at the moment, and as we touched on earlier, it's been quite a surprise because coming into the season, we were really thinking that because of all the roster changes that have gone around with them, that it was probably rebuild phase, probably going to take this season for them to be able to rebuild, and potentially they would be a bottom 2 team. But yeah, I feel like every week they are impressing me with the way that they're performing. Felt like Rhythm weren't really playing as well as they had been in previous matches though, so I think that was kind of like the combination that made it a 7-3. But like you said, Zenox, I feel like it was always going to be a Ferox win. Once they got going, like they just looked really, really good. Rhythm could not compete with them, honestly. It was quite astounding. I expected it to be at least a bit closer, but 7-3 is what we got.
Cool.
Yeah.
Unless you had anything fast. Sweet.
No, I was prepping for my next for the wildcard game, so I didn't really watch this.
I mean, that's a good segue. Take us through this next game. Unfortunately, it was a 7-2 in favor of wildcard. Speak us through how the match went, thoughts, feelings, and maybe some concerns as well.
I could talk about the game for hours, but to keep it simple, just 2 major things for us, really. We just took a gamble. A lot of people were like, why would you take them to Consulate? And we know now, obviously. But yeah, we just took a gamble. We're hoping to try to do certain things to test them. But I feel like even if we played, I feel like we did play really bad, like in terms of communication. And I felt like we were very scared often as well. But even so, I feel like even if we were at our 90%, 100%, they just played really well on Consulate, and they just looked so comfortable. And again, at the end of the day, if we played a lot better, I still think they probably would have seen a similar scoreline.
Yeah, look, watching this, it was pretty rough. Like the first 4 rounds were great, nice and close. I thought like it was going to be an overtime game. I think I even said on broadcast like, oh, Manic, we're trending towards maybe an overtime match here. And then Wildcard just won 5 rounds in a row. So that was a bit of a feels bad.
Casters.
But yeah, look, all the
No idea.
curses. But seriously, like
cursing.
wildcard, just they really did step it up. Maybe it was just down to the map, but they played very clean and very methodical. They were just tearing apart what felt like every strategy you guys had set up. It felt like they were reading it very well and being able to just dissect it. And it was tough for you guys to be able to maintain and keep up. Yeah, I don't know. There's actually not too much else to say about the game because, as you can see with the 7-2 scoreline, it was pretty clear cut. Like I said, after those first rounds, it was very one-sided.
I agree.
Epic. Cool. I assume you don't have anything else to say, Zenox?
I mean, look, we've said it really. 7-2.
Yeah.
It's probably not ideal, I think, for Elevate, to be honest. I think that in a better world, they would have probably liked more 7-4-ish around that mark would have been more ideal. 7-2 is not nice. I think it's actually the second worst scoreline it is this season, just to the 7-1 from Knights versus LFO. Obviously, Wildcard's an amazing team, right? So it's a little bit difficult to gauge. And as Var said, tried something, didn't work, learned from it. And that's the biggest thing. If you can take something away from a match, despite the fact that like the scoreline 7-2, whatever, besides map differential, which I don't think will be an issue for Elevate, it's what you've gained and learned from it that's more important. And obviously, as Var said, they would have gained a lot of knowledge from that moving forward into the future, either against Wildcard specifically or against other teams, or just even the process of getting to that decision of like, we want to try and do this or that. Maybe they look at that process, but ultimately, a bit of a lesson learned.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely feel like, if we do make playoffs, if we do versus wildcard again, we understand how we need to prep for them. They're not like every other team. You need to prep for them in a certain way, and hopefully we do get that rematch, because we're definitely gonna be able to put a lot more work into it and prep in a different way than we usually would against certain teams.
Just a quick closing point on that too. Like sometimes it can be really helpful to have matches like this in the regular season against the tougher opponents, where you have that opportunity to learn, and then you come into playoffs. And like you've said, you guys have had key learnings from this now that you can use in that next matchup. And you often see like the results flip in playoffs. I mean, not always, but it is pretty common that you'll see like a loss like this in a regular season get flipped in playoffs, because you've had that chance to get that learning. Even like in a double elimination bracket, sometimes you'll see somebody lose that matchup in the upper bracket. Only once they get their lower bracket run, you see the result completely flip. And it's like, well, it's like two different teams played. So it can be like, as long as you're getting those learnings, like that's the big part of those kind of matchups. Excellent. That was Playday 4. So the next part is a pretty fun little segment, some say. Don't they, Zenox?
The second best segment.
Just the best segment for any esports show in the world, let alone Australia, let alone for Rainbow. It's of course the Zenox Sexy Play of the week, which everyone loves a good sexy play. Everyone wants to see this awesome plays, triple kills, quads, aces, whatever. For this week though, I've toned it down a little bit. Okay, we just brought things back down to earth. We just got the one kill. It's just one, but it's a pretty sexy one kill. Okay, and not only that, but we've got ourselves a special guest throughout the sexy play this week. Managed to get the rights, managed to get the partnerships. Just what can I say? I've just got that pull. Everyone wants to be on the sexy play of the week. Roll the clip, Raven, would you? It's time for Zenox's sexy play of the week. Ooh, now that play was sexy.
It's me, Mario!
It really just feels like everyone in this match has deserved a big pat on the back. Really just feels like everyone in this match has deserved a big pat on the back. Oh, whoa! Vinny, calm down! These people have got families.
I may have botched that a little bit with the audio.
He is sabotaging me. Okay. I cannot. How much did you pay him, guys? How much? How much did you pay him?
I don't disclose my agreements.
Oh, yeah, it was a sizable amount. Let's just say that.
I'll get you back. I will get you back. But no, look, really good play. Obviously, Vinny has been doing very, very well. Easy transition, yada, yada, yada. Great kill. Heard the shots from, who was it, Nevaix, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the balcony.
Over at the balcony, was it?
Aqua balcony. Yep.
Yeah.
You tell us. You were the one casting it. That's the only reason you put the clip in, because you love yourself so much.
I wasn't casting that. That was Mario.
Oh, yeah, righto.
Yeah, it's a good one. It was a good one. I liked it. I think even Guzz kind of tried to get involved with a little,
Bit of a Dev Martyr gasp, yeah.
Bit of a Dev Martyr, but yeah. Yeah, good play.
Excellent.
And what was a good matchup
play
as well. And for the first time in the Zenox Sexy Player of the Week, the player, their team actually ended up winning the game.
Oh, really? Is this normally a curse thing, is it? Like Zenox's sexy play curses so they lose?
Well, no, it's not a curse per se because the results already happened, obviously.
I get you.
It's just that the earlier clips from the recent weeks, while they were good plays, they actually lost the game, so...
Yeah, he gave the best play to second place, just like his segment is second place to mine. So it'll make sense.
I can't even remember what yours is called.
You're probably asleep, like you always are.
All right, we actually have another special segment, and it's something that we haven't done in previous weeks because we finally have a pro guest on with us. So we're going to be analyzing a couple of rounds that Vast did play last week. We got 2 loaded up here. So this first one, making sure you guys are all in this lobby, right? You guys are ready for this?
Yep.
Start the clip and we'll see.
I'll let you take control, Vast, because you're probably going to be talking through most of it. So feel free to hit play when you're ready. Should play it, and then just let us know.
Play. Where is it? Can you?
Bottom left.
I'll see it.
There is no play option for us. You might be.
Oh, really?
With it.
Oh, okay. I guess it is. All right. I'm gonna hit play. You just let me know if you need me to pause. All right.
What a host.
Just yell pause. He's got to take direction.
A not try to test the thing. All right. Here we go.
Oh, I hear myself.
I can mute it, by the way, if these guys get annoying, because, you know. Great. Okay, I am going to pause it here. So, I mean, like, let's look at these operator lineups. Is there something in particular about your operator lineup that made you, like, choose this? You're coming into this round. Were you expecting CCTV cash?
Were we? Jeez. I can't really remember.
It's a loaded question.
I mean, their lineups were pretty universal. So this, apart from the Valkyrie, I can't remember if they run Valk below, but this, I don't know, it could have been a church again, but we bring a universal lineup, so it doesn't really matter where they go. We bring the same ops.
Yep.
Although I did 6 to the Monty here, and I'm pretty sure the reason for this is that, yeah, we did kind of figure out that they were going CC. Because I didn't want to bring it for church.
And how confident were you guys in terms of, like, what they were going to be doing for their setup? Because this is obviously their second round of defense, right? Did they play this the round before? I honestly don't remember.
They played church before this.
Yep.
Church was their first bomb site in the rotation. What was your question? How were you feeling?
Yeah, like, did you realize that they were, like, what was their setup going to be? Like, did you know that they were going to be setting it up a certain way and you guys were already prepared to counter that, or?
Yeah, like, we didn't really expect anything out there. We kind of expected this setup from there is probably like different ops. But we did expect a pretty similar lineup and pretty similar setup. Although they did do something a little bit different on the master side, but we weren't quite sure what they were trying to do with it because they didn't really have anyone playing over there.
Yep.
If it kind of goes, yeah. So they have a rotation. Oh,
Do you want me to go back?
Yeah.
Yep.
Just pause it about.
Go further.
A little, yeah, so we can see
this?
Jim.
Jim. All right.
Yeah. I think there. So yeah, they had a Rio on this bathroom wall, and they had a rotation here. We didn't. This was the only thing that we didn't really expect, but we don't know what they were doing with it because there was no one playing around here, so it didn't really throw us off guard or stall us. But that was the only thing we didn't really expect in the setup. Everything else is pretty much what we expected. I will say kind of the nature of the push that we're doing is quite slow. Because there's, you know, a lot of droning and getting map control. So for about less than a minute, yeah, nothing really happens. But
is that is that part of the rationale with the Monty as well? It's just that it helps speed it up a little bit with your droning.
Yeah. So I actually bring the hard reach gadget because I'm meant to be playing second hard reach. So yeah, totally. Like it just helps kind of. Because usually we'll be on kennels, which is that CCTV balcony, to try to open kennels all first. And we usually have 2 to 3 people doing that. So usually it's just me and God Legion clearing this master side, and the Monty just helps with it. I mean,
like
even so with the Monty, we're still kind of slow. Just want to be thorough.
Yeah.
Now, I do want to talk about kind of this position that I'm playing and why I think it's like really strong. Because I'm the primary IGL. I do a lot of shot calling, and with a ping 2.0 system, this position here, I can safely sit and just ping every piece of utility I see on site, and I can also call how they're trying to deny this wall. So I can call if they're bandit tricking or if they want to impact trick, and that kind of does determine how my players react. And if I wasn't Monty, I'd be throwing in one drone, and that one drone could be shot. So I really like playing this position as Monty. And I can't really be shot, so it's really strong.
Yeah. Were you going to say something before, Guzz, by the way?
I was just going to mention that drone spot on the main stairs is really nice, but I don't want to expose it again. It's already been shown once on broadcast.
I did think about that today. I mean, yeah, we definitely changed it.
Yeah, fair enough.
Oh, that was a sharp shot too.
Can we just pause it here?
Yeah.
Or pause it like just after that last kill?
I'll go back.
So like just a little bit back. So this is just a question for Var. So when you're in this sort of like 3v5 scenario, you've got a minute on the clock. That's a lot of time to work with. What's the thought process here? Because obviously you could just try and full send it, trade it out, which is obviously quite risky, quite dangerous considering the position you're in. So how do you sort of approach the rest of this round, not wanting to throw away that lead that you did establish?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that because I definitely did want to talk about that. Yeah, when you're in a 3v5, you know, you can get a bit excited and try to jump the gun and try to, you know, we have 5 players, they have 3 kind of thought process, but we actually just wanted to slow it even more, slow it down even more, and just stick to what our ultimate goal is, which is trying to get this con wall open, and ultimately plant on the breach. But yeah, as you can see, Digital, like it was in stock playing very aggro, and he did get a pick on Specker, and then now he's actually gone outside it, I believe, because right now I'm calling like everyone just play like super passive and slow it down heaps. Let's, you know, figure out where they are. Kind of thing. So yeah.
Yeah, look, I'm glad you answered that because Guzz is definitely kill hungry when it's a 3v5 and ranked.
Shut up. Oh,
It's probably very easy to think, oh, I'll just run through the door. You'll go and find another kill, and then before you know it, you get mowed down. You may get some mowed down. It's the 3v3.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why I asked.
And Ippy is just kind of waiting for Digital to, you know, it's a 5v2, like, you know, why wouldn't Dig just push that lounge there?
Yeah.
But yeah, he was kind of really patient. It was paying off.
Just gonna go back, see if I can get the right freeze frame here. Where did I see it? Oh, not there.
Oh.
I'm trying to get... Okay, so you can see your positions here. Like, obviously there's 5 of you alive, but you can see 4 of you all stacked up, like, on the master's side. 5th player, vertical? Was that still Digital below at this stage?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I guess, like, as you're setting up right now for this execute, I mean, you talked about that your plan was always to be planting at breach. Was the idea that you are just gonna cover from verticals and then cover the doorways and that's it? Or is there a little bit more to the setup here?
There's a little bit more, but we were kind of getting picks, so we didn't really get to achieve our ultimate goal. But I can't remember the reasoning. I think it was because we had Thatcher. So because Thatcher was banned, we couldn't get the kennels will open at the start like a lot of teams will with this lineup. So our goal was, if you can actually pause it, just just before. Our plan was to actually get Master quick. Well, not quick, but quick. And actually Ash charge this wall here so that we can shoot the mute jammers, or like if they're trying to bandit trick, we can just kill the bandit from our long angles from con.
Right.
So that was our ultimate goal. But yeah, obviously we were getting a lot of picks, so we didn't really get to do exactly what we wanted, but worked out in the end.
Is it just the sort of round where you've got your goal, you've got your focuses, but you just end up finding kills? It's just
yeah,
kind of didn't end up really going the way you thought, but in a good way.
Yeah, definitely. They actually shot my we made a mistake because we didn't check we didn't drone con properly, and I didn't really scan it properly. So there was that evil eye that zapped my hard breach. So they had 2 impacts and they zapped 1 hard breach. They could have, if we weren't getting picks, that round could have been could have gone differently, to be honest. I feel like we were a little bit sloppy in that part.
Would you say that's because, as the Monty there, you just wanted to stand in the door and get that information, that you didn't think too much about con?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Which I think technically you could probably do that, but then just have someone behind you sweeping con or something, depending on if you had anyone. I think you had 1 person behind you.
I think God was like in logic.
Yeah.
But I mean, we've seen EU teams. Is it EU or NA? I think it's EU that like don't open that CC wall on a master attack and still like pull it off.
Yeah.
So it's definitely doable. But yeah, I guess that's just the way the round turned out, in a lot of picks and kind of patience from our end.
Nice. Yeah, look, it was a strong round. I really like the Monty picks, honestly. Cool. Are we good to move to the next round then?
Yeah.
All right. I'm just gonna hide this while I quickly get the.
I was just happy in that round to see the Monty actually utilized for a con push, because so often we just see it used for like your average garage push, and I mean that could have worked, right? Because they didn't have a Legion on the board, I don't believe. So it was
sure.
just nice to see something a bit more fresh, to be honest.
Is there ever like a planned backup when you are taking Monty in, that if for whatever reason the Monty is killed pretty early on into a round, that you do still have something else that you can fall back on in a 4v5?
I mean, I don't think we ever really think like, it does depend on the situation actually, but in that situation, it wasn't really, the way I was playing Monty was really passive and slow, as you guys could see. So there never really was the thought, well, what if I die early? Because I'm not really playing him aggressively. It's just more like clearing what we need to clear and just calling all that util on site and positions of players. I feel like there are situations I just can't remember. I feel like we have kind of talked about like, what if I die early? We need a backup kind of thing. But yeah, it wasn't really applicable in that situation.
Cool. All right. Well, I'm pretty sure this is the right round. So I guess to preface this round, this was your first defense round against Wildcard on Friday. I'll hit play. I'll turn my voice down so I don't have to hear myself. So you guys went Archives and Tellers, right? Which is a little bit off meta in Oceanic at least. So maybe just explain right now. The rationale with Archives Tellers is obviously one of those gambles that you said that you guys made.
Yep. Well, we actually really like Archives Tellers. We like how the way you meant to play it, it kind of fits in with our playstyle. Obviously, we made a lot of mistakes, so we'll talk about that after. But yeah, I think kind of our support stuff got us a lot of stats on like just other regions, and it does depend on the region. But I think APAC doesn't like Tellers. Like,
yep.
Never plays it. But then you have like EU and NA that play it like really frequently, like it's their primary pick. We don't really like CEO, and we know we knew that Wildcard are like, they've got their CEO attack on point. They barely make mistakes with it. So our thought process was we want to do CO level last, and yeah, we're hoping to throw them off guard with this, but obviously there were a lot of mistakes that didn't really throw them off.
Yeah, so let me know when to pause when there's particular key things that are coming
here
up.
Right now.
Oh, epic. Do I need to go back?
Just a little bit, so I guess we can see Tellers properly. Yes,
How's
that's
that?
perfect. So,
Cool.
kind of what our plan is here, and I can't draw for some reason.
Yeah, I can't draw either. I tried refreshing now.
Yeah, maybe try refresh.
That did not change it.
What?
Broke it.
I'll untick allow drawing, and I will tick allow drawing. Can you do it now?
I refreshed. No.
Why?
I lost the whole thing below.
I think we don't have privileges. It's saying you do not have privileges to do so.
That's weird. I could transfer you to be a host. I don't know why I would have to do that though. I definitely have not changed anything since last time. Let me just... I'm quickly hovering over all these other options. I don't see anything that changes. I'll transfer host to you, Vast, because then you can draw and play and pause and all that kind of stuff.
Cool.
Did that work?
Yeah, that worked.
Sweet.
Oh, I can draw now.
Oh, now I can draw. How weird is that? Okay.
So,
I can draw too.
kind of our thought process with this setup, usually teams will put a rotor here, but we decided to Rio because we kind of wanted to create like a bit of a box in Tellers. So ultimately, if they're not using their hard breach on the walls, they have to funnel through windows, jump through windows, run through these doors, etc., etc. You'll see why this didn't really work well.
Yeah, I'll ask about that later.
How do I erase? Oh, there we go.
Yeah, it's just the trash can.
There we go. Okay, there we go. So we brought the mirror, and you'll probably see all our mirrors, both our mirrors are on site because we know that Wildcard do like their garage push on this bomb site. So we thought we'd bring the mirror. It's just another shotgun C4 and
yep.
Nothing really happens. Because yeah, the way you want to play Tellers, well, actually, I shouldn't say the way you want to play it, but the way we wanted to play it is just like kind of that 5 alive mentality, and then just watch these doorways and use the pulse and get those C4 picks on site. So we're not really contesting the map. which allows them to just take admin in seconds. Well, top floor, I should say, because they got people on the rappel.
Yep.
Usually with our setup, because we did kind of change this to kind of factor in what Wildcard do, but usually on our setup, we actually have God on Oryx. And he's kind of like our only player that's really contesting the map, but now we've got him on a more passive role. We just have 5 on site. So yeah, our biggest problem... Oh, sorry, go on.
Oh, I was going to say, it's definitely something I noticed is that you guys really weren't contesting, right? Like, you just had 5 down below, and it was just like...
To, stay alive, and that was actually, helped them. Something we've fixed as well with this, that we noticed as well, is that we made way too many holes in tellers, and they had a Geo on the Ver, and Geo's really good on the buck. Like, yeah, you see he just got the pulse fit. He's really good at understanding what vert he needs, especially from this bomb site as well. Obviously, I've played with him in the past, so I've seen what he's like. And yeah, we were leaning on this pulse, and losing it at this point, we were just kind of like, we didn't really have any info.
Moment.
Yeah, it was definitely like we only had 1 bulletproof on site. I'm pretty sure they got it like quickly. We were kind of like, how do we win this? Definitely, yeah, like we made all these holes for Geo. He's on sledge, so he wouldn't be able to make those holes. And we kind of just ripped up site for them.
Yeah.
Can we just pause there, or somewhere around here, before that C4?
Oh yeah,
that rip one. So you sort of talked about it a little bit earlier in terms of you only had the 1 bulletproof. It was probably taken out. You obviously didn't have the intel with the pulse. So with this sort of stage in the round where you're thinking they're going for the play, and I assume maybe you're going off a sound call or whatever to try and deny it. At that point, is it just random whether or not you're able to deny it because you don't know exactly where it is going down? What's the sort of thought process there when you're trying to deny it without that intel?
Definitely just trying to listen for it. Obviously, sometimes sound can be a bit deceiving, so it's not something you should always rely on. But yeah, like, exactly, we were just trying to listen out for it, and we weren't really coming at this point too much. And then God threw that C4 from here, from supply, and it went all the way. That was a very unfortunate C4, but ultimately it wouldn't have really done anything to Wildcard.
Yeah. Yeah, it was kind of over at this point, right? Like, it was going to be very hard to retake.
Oh yeah, once once they get the plant on tellers in 4v4, 5v5, it's just super easy after that point. So kind of our strat is to not allow them to get to that point, but
yeah,
we just kind of feel like we made it a lot easier for them. Yeah, definitely. We've made a lot of fixes, but I think this round is a perfect example of how I feel that we were just trying too much to like not die because we were just playing to not lose kind of thing, opposed to like playing to win.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a really good example for me personally.
My question here would be, would you have played the site differently had it been a different team? Was this something that was intended against Wildcard only, or is like this an archive tellers thing that you guys were trying, or is it an archive tellers because it's Wildcard, we're going to do this?
Well, we do like archives tellers, and before this game we considered ourselves pretty good at it. We did change a lot of ops around last minute without enough practice. Like obviously with God, we put him on more of a passive op, and same with Worthy, because usually Worthy would go like a Maestro in our default lineup. But yeah, to the point where we have played it differently against a different team. it does depend the team, because I feel like the point with other teams, we might think about more throwing them off guard. They might not know how to attack it, but Wildcard do. But I definitely feel like we probably would have put God on more of a roaming op and let him do his thing, opposed to just keeping him sight to stay alive kind of thing. I feel like that would have maybe not won us the game or the round, but it would have definitely changed the way we played it. And as well, for me, like on Castle, usually I play that a bit more aggro around Statue. I don't know if it's really worth. I might just go back on our site positions then. Actually, no, it's kind of still the setup. So yeah, like, I guess you can see here, I feel like as well, we probably should have brought the Cade. Allowing them to open a hatch did cause a bit of panic with us. If they didn't open any hatches, Hotshot wouldn't be positioned here. He'd be like, probably more here, looking at the vert holes. But allowing them to open that one hatch kind of meant we were constantly like, oh, who's holding the hatch? Who's holding the hatch? Kind of thing. Yeah. Kind of made us panic about that hatch shot. So I feel like we should have probably brought the Cade over the Mute in this lineup. And yeah, usually like God would be roaming somewhere trying to make a play. Again, we've just got him kind of staying alive in Cafe, not, you know, using him to using his abilities to the best that we could have. And usually I'm kind of playing more up, we call this dungeon, but I guess lower spiral stairs. Usually I'm contesting Statue a bit more, playing a bit more aggro, but you see me here, obviously I'm just kind of just playing my life and making sure that they don't come down. So I do feel like we changed way too much how we usually play this for Wildcard. But yeah.
It's definitely something I was critical of this strat on broadcast, was that it felt like I could kind of see the rationale, right? Is like, if you guys are hard holding archives, they're gonna have to fight for their lives to take basement. So then they have to go for tellers. That seems like the simplest option. But if you guys have all of that info and denial from below, it's never gonna be an easy plant. So they have to try and deal with you guys anyway. So I could kind of see like the broad strategy. But I think to your point about just Geo in particular being very good with verticals, and the fact that they got the pulse first, I can see how that really derailed things. So yeah, I think on broadcast I ended up saying that I felt like you guys needed to contest a little more, so that the ground that they got was harder fought for. So when it came to the late rounds, they wouldn't have as much time or composure to be able to sit there and wait for you guys to maybe rotate into those verticals and that kind of thing. But yeah, I can definitely see how this strategy was like designed to work. I think the point that you made too about the fact that they got the hatch open in that corner in Visa, I think that's also a really great point about how that one little thing can really just, because you've got to change your focus completely to that one corner. Somebody has to be dedicated to watching that. So yeah, it does change the way the whole thing plays out, because people's positions will then all have to shift off, that kind of thing. Yeah,
for sure. And I guess kind of with what you just said, I feel like you should never lean on one thing to win you around. And this is a really good example on leaning on one thing, which is the pulse, right? You should always have like a lot of other options to win you the round, because there's so many factors and so many things that can go wrong in this game. And yeah, this is definitely a big mistake on leaning on one thing to win you the round. So yeah, I totally agree with that.
But this is also the time, right, to try these things. Like, I mean, obviously the scrims as well, but like ultimately in these sort of matchups, this is where you got to put it to the test, don't you? And then you're either going to have a good result, goes good, or you're going to learn to fix up a few mistakes so that next time around you'll be better for it. And I think that's probably what you guys will learn from it the most, which is the good thing. And it doesn't have to be wildcard that you use it against next time. It could be a different team. So, and you'll have that, and you'll know, okay, don't do this, don't open up this, you know. Good learning experience. And I really appreciate hearing it too, as I think it's a good way for us to sort of see how you guys learn from these situations, and I think it's good for players as well, the tier 2, tier 3, or whatever, that can see ways to learn from losses and don't just look at it as like, oh, we got stomped 7-2, this is a mess, throw it in the bin. Like, you can look at each round and gain a lot.
Yeah, for sure. And on the day, you know, on the day when you get 7-2, you're gonna not want to touch Siege for a bit and just, you know, just try to block every thought. But often you watch back the game, like from my experience, and I even remember when Raven would coach us and say, you know, if you watch back the game, it's not as bad as it may feel. And I feel like, you know, 7-2 obviously, but I feel like I watch back the game and I look at all these mistakes and I'm just like, these can be, you know, very fixable, and and it has I feel like this game has definitely changed my I guess kind of look at how we should prepare for wildcard.
Yeah,
obviously I'm not going to say that.
But give us the strats, Vast. Give us the strats, mate. Come on.
I would say that it would probably feel very demoralizing if you watch the game back and you're like, you know what? That was the best we've got, and we still lost 7-2. that would kind of suck. But obviously, as you said, I think a lot of teams are probably like that, where they can look back at a game and be like, you know what, we had to done this, this, and that. This round, if we had done this, you know, etc. So, and that's always a nice little confidence boost that you can fix those things, and then you can improve, and that this is not your final form, and you can get better.
Yeah. Look, I think that's just to summarize that, I think it is a great lesson in that it is important to watch your games back, win or lose, because like you're saying, Vast, the amount of times you watch a game back and you feel like in the moment you got smacked, but you watch it back later when there's less emotion in it and you just see all the mistakes, but they're just like, they often feel more simple than they are, or like than you think they are. So it's like, oh, we can just change this and that's going to fix that. And oh, if we play this slightly differently, we'll win it next time. So yeah, there's so much value in watching your games back when the motion of the match is out of it. Because if you watch it straight back afterwards, chances are you're still going to feel pretty crappy and you're going to see things in a bit of a different light. Yeah.
For sure.
Awesome. Oh, thanks for the insight, Vast. That was really cool. So we will be doing some previews for this week's matches in a moment, but until then, we just have a quick little promo to run. Woo! Alright, now we're back. Right. It is the right play there, right? Yeah, it is. Epic. I was a little bit worried when we came back. I was like, oh, I can't remember which one I left up, but here we go. Alright, let's just dive straight into it. This first match is already, I think, a pretty exciting matchup, given that Okami did get the dub last week. So, Noble, obviously, you're in the camp that they are going to have a strong finish to the season, Zenox. Are you feeling like...
Oh, he was. I don't know if he still will be after.
Oh, I still am. I still am. I still think that I've changed my approach a little bit. I have said that they'll go undefeated from now.
Oh, okay. I see.
I like it.
It changes week to week, does it?
No, it just changed off the fact that they lost against Pittsburgh. You look at the remaining. Okay, the remaining 3 games for Noble is Okami, Rhythm, and Elevate. No disrespect, Vast, but I still have them beating you guys as well. Obviously, you'll think different, and that's no. And I want him to think that they'll beat Noble. Okay. In saying that, though, The only thing that's kind of got me a little bit concerned about Noble is their map differential when you compare them to Wildcard and Pittsburgh. Wildcard are +9, Pittsburgh +14. Noble are just +1. So they're winning games, but they've been very, very close. They've got still a bit of work to do. Akami is the perfect opponent to do that. I do have them beating Akami. I would be very shocked to see any of these snowball predictors to have Akami coming out of this one. Especially, look, I mean, Akami did beat Alifo 7-4, but are they the Akami from Six Masters? X for doubt.
Yep, I agree. The way that Okami been playing this season has been, frankly, quite weird compared to what we've seen previously. I don't know, there's some weird stuff going on that team, so I hope they sort it out and we see something maybe a little bit more succinct from them, or a little bit more compact in the way that they actually approach some of these rounds. There's just been some, again, like some weird stuff. Like if Specker actually is IGLing, which he said in the interview, I still don't understand the thought process behind him doing crouch solo entries on a couple of occasions against like Ferox, for example. Again, I could just be totally speaking out of line here, and maybe that is like a pretty genuine strategy behind that. But yeah, like I said, some strange stuff in the Okami camp. So I don't know. Hopefully they bring something new this week.
And I touched on it a little bit before, but Akami have got this matchup, of course, against Noble. Now Akami are on 2 wins. They need 1 more to get playoffs. 3 will get you there. But then they've got Knights, and then they've got Wildcard. It doesn't get harder than that for Akami, where they need to find at least 1 out of those 3, which any of those 3 is going to be an upset. And then if they fail to find that, they have to hope that either Rhythm or Alifo, neither of those 2 win their remaining 3, which I don't believe will happen. But if, say, let's just say Alifo get 2, then I think it comes down to map differential, doesn't it, Raven?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it'll go into
which right now it's not good for Alifo, -14 to the -1 of Akami. So look, Akami, I still have them making playoffs because of the map differential, but it's still not going to be a good look that you're making playoffs at 2-5.
Yeah, look, I agree. I think it's a big storyline coming into this matchup is probably more so that Okami, these are vital points that they need to grab. And out of their remaining games, like you said, this is probably the most, I'm going to say, winnable.
Would you say this is a must-win then? Is that what we would
I would say it's a must-win.
It's not a must-win. I don't think it's a must-win because I still have them making it based off of the fact I don't think LFO will get 3, and I don't think LFO will get the map differential down. Unless they like 7-1 Rhythm or something, then we can talk. It also comes down to whether or not Akami get belted by the likes of Knights, Wildcard, and Noble. So what they're playing for here, keep the games close, make sure that map differential doesn't blow out. If they can steal a win, it has to be against Noble because I don't have them winning against Wildcard or Knights.
I think this is their path to a less stressful finish to the season, is if they manage to get a win. But like Zenox said, they've got to keep it real close if they do end up losing the map. So I think that's a really big storyline here, because Noble, they're pretty safe up in that top position, or like top 2, top 4 kind of finish area. So I think a lot of it's going to be the pressure on Okami, in fact, to just not be stressing out towards the end, because unfortunately, myself and Vast do know about every point mattering right up until that very last play day.
Jeez.
And the other thing, just before I want to throw it to Vast and his thoughts on this, but Noble, as I mentioned before, I've only got +1 on the map differential. So if I was Noble coming into this, I'd be, without being cocky, without being confident, I would say that really the goal should be to try and increase that map differential. A 7-3 would probably be what you'd be wanting to aim at. Don't allow Akami to get too many rounds, because we are going to need potentially those maps. Considering as it stands right now, although I don't know, because like right now the Wildcard are technically 3rd. I don't know how it works. Maybe does it go by map wins?
I'm sure there's a bit more complications to it, and
Are we sure isn't it mini league before
might be
overall
mini
round
league,
right?
So like
it would probably do that, so that's why Noble are above Wildcard.
But I mean, your point stands. They should just be trying to smack them, to be honest. For
yeah,
seeding.
but I guess it doesn't stand as much though, because they have beaten Wildcard, and it's, let's be real. Like I have it right now as 3 brackets. I've got Pittsburgh, Noble, Wildcard as the top 3. And you can shuffle them around whatever you want. If you want Wildcard first, you have them first. You want Knights first, whatever. Then I have the next 3, which is Ferox, Elevate, Akami. But I do have Ferox and Elevate above Akami in that 3. And then I got the bottom 2. So that's the way I've kind of split. the 8 teams at the moment in those 3 brackets. Obviously, the likes of Ferox and Elevate, they'll be wanting to get into that top bracket. It's going to be difficult. But yeah. Vast, your thoughts on Noble?
Sorry, boys.
Nice.
Yeah, I think no, you guys explained it really well. I don't really know all the technical, like seedings and what points, who needs to get what points. I haven't really been keeping up with that, but I think even Noble, they're in really good form right now. Sure, like they can hide strategies for playoffs. I think that's pretty standard. But I still think they should try to play to win. And obviously, if you lose, you don't need to care about the result because you're already in the playoffs. But still try to play to win so you can kind of keep that intensity and try to maintain that form as well, more importantly. And I mean, I guess you could even say like kind of Noble, if they want to try to, take Okami's place kind of thing, if you want to see it like that. Beating them could even, demoralize Okami, and it just helps. There's no bad side for Noble trying to beat Okami without showing strats, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel you on that. Cool. All right. Moving on to the next one then. Ferox's Elevate. Who do you think is going to win this one, Vast? This is a real great question, isn't it?
Yeah, obviously Elevate, man. They're just such a good team.
Look, maybe this is a good point or good part for you to be able to put in your thoughts about coming up against Ferox this week, or in this match. How are you guys feeling coming into this, given that Ferox have been in really good form?
Yeah, they've definitely proven themselves to be kind of a dark horse. A bit unexpected. Like, we're pretty confident and comfortable versing them. I don't really think there's... Yeah, I don't really know how to say it, but it does depend on the map, though. It does depend on the map for me. We definitely want to try to be as comfortable as possible versing them. As soon as we start getting uncomfortable, I feel like that's, kind of where their unpredictability and all that will definitely boost them. Yep. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the game, and I'm confident as always.
I just want to ask, with this matchup in particular, when you say the map might have a large bearing on it, or even just in general, but as a team, do you prefer to, in this format, the 3 bans apiece, do you prefer to ban first, or do you prefer to ban second, so that you get to choose technically between the last 2 maps in the pool?
I mean, I would like to choose the last 2 maps, but obviously our seeding, we have not been able to do that this season so far, except for the rhythm game. So that's kind of out of our control. It's not really what we would like, unfortunately, but I guess it just means that we have to practice even more than other teams, because we need to prepare for more maps that might be out of our control.
That's a good point.
I mean, just to go into it, man, Raven, you'll probably know, but if you do ban first, don't you get to choose attack or defense? Or wrong?
Yeah, I think it's like the last team that bans, because they're technically choosing the map, the other team gets to choose sides. Is that right, Vast?
Yeah.
Is that how it works?
Yeah, we've been choosing the sides.
Yeah. So does that play into it at all, or do you think being able to still choose between the 2 maps is more important than choosing sides first?
I actually think choosing sides has a pretty big factor, because then you can kind of figure out op bans, right? Like, you can I think op bans is pretty important, and knowing if you're gonna attack ban first or ban second with the operators is pretty important. Like, it does make sense, like obviously being able to pick between the last 2 maps is pretty important, but I feel like so far, like and I'm sure every team has been pretty accurate with figuring out what the last 2 maps are going to be. I feel like this format, it's pretty simple to figure it out, so that hasn't really been too much of an issue for us.
Which, I mean, at the end of the day as well, technically it does come down to 3 maps left when you get to look at it, so you can take the worst map that you can think of from those 3 remaining and say, all right, we'll ban that, that'll be our last one, and then And then you kind of at least have a bit of an idea of what you're preparing for. So yeah,
Exactly.
I got to say, I think it does feel very balanced in that regards. Then that, you know, one team gets to choose the map out of 2, the other team gets to choose the side out of 2. It probably seems the most fair, I guess. Any other discussions about Ferox Elevate? Well, actually, none of us have touched on it yet. What am I doing?
The actual matchup. Yeah.
The actual matchup. I'll start. I'll kick us off here.
Go for it.
I have tipped Ferox, unfortunately. Sorry, Vast. I have tipped them, which I think, by the way, though, my tip luck's going to run out. So I think Elevate's going to win this, but I've tipped Ferox, and I'm not changing it. So, and I'm not just saying that because Vast is here. I just feel like my luck's going to run out, right? So I'm kind of 200 IQ myself here. Ferox, I think, have been benefiting from their roster changes, which is a good thing because sometimes you can change rosters a little bit, and you know, most teams have had at least one. Well, every team's had at least one, but they've had 2. And it's definitely worked. Nazgul has been, I think, even better than Oda, despite Oda's fans. I think Nazgul's been really, really good and has gone technically under the radar because of the hype around Oda. And just as a team, they're just playing a little bit more flawlessly. They're more concise. They're executing a bit better. They're just a better version of what they were in Six Masters. That doesn't make them obviously unbeatable. And if we look at their sculpt so far, they lost to Noble. They beat Akami, a team that's ultimately struggling. And then they lost to Pittsburgh before then beating Rhythm, which you would expect most teams to be able to do that. Compared to Elevate and their run, they also lost to Pittsburgh. They also beat Rhythm, although that was a bit closer. To be fair, Wildcard also was pretty close against Rhythm. They also beat Akami, but Elevate did get kind of destroyed by Wildcard, which Ferox haven't played Wildcard yet. No, they haven't. They'll be doing that in round 6. So ultimately, off the back of the results, Oceanic Nationals, I think both teams are pretty even. And I obviously, as I said before, have them in that sort of middle bracket. Whoever wins this does guarantee playoffs. So there is that little bit on the line. The loser, I mean, Elevate play Noble, and then LFO, have them beating LFO. So I would say even if Elevate do lose this, they'll beat LFO and they'll be fine for playoffs. If Ferox lose this, though, they've got Wildcard and then they play LFO in what could then eventually be, potentially, the final match of the entire regular season for that place in playoffs. So that could be a high-pressure game. So I think it's more paramount for Ferox to win this right now. But there are definitely playoff ramifications based off this match in particular for both teams. I got Ferox.
Look at seeding
7-5 or OT.
Seeding on the line as well, right? Because if Elevate are considering themselves to be in the playoff pool, obviously if you string together all those wins, you'll get the highest seed, which helps a lot coming into the playoff bracket. Yeah. So there is still that.
Whoever wins this match, they should very well finish 4th.
Yeah.
4th.
It's a battle for 4th.
Battle for 4th. And the thing that I've realized after speaking about the map differential, I don't think the map differential actually matters at all, really, when it's all said and done.
It will, depending on what the tiebreaker is, because it does go through like the classic complex kind of like math or like
6
scenarios,
stages,
right? Because it was like the same with last season with Six Masters when it was the 3-way tie for 4th place. Yeah, the Knights got through on like the 4th or 5th condition or something. I can't remember what it was, but like it goes deep, so it does matter, but it just has to go through like those other things first. Yeah. All right.
Cool.
I think
LFO
we've spoken about that one or not. Yeah, LFO Rhythm. I think this is actually quite a banger matchup for this play day because this basically is locking one of them into bottom 2.
Yeah.
That's the way I see it. Because
100%. I think this is, in my opinion, the match that I am. I mean, it's hard between this one and probably the next one. Actually, in fact, all the matches are pretty damn exciting. Tomorrow night,
we got a good one.
I think this one, it will just be a really hard fought match. I don't think it's going to necessarily be the one that has the smartest plays or the deepest strategies or anything like that. We're not necessarily expecting it from these two teams. Again, no offense intended for either of them, but they haven't been performing the best so far this season. So I think it's just going to be some really hard fought siege. it's probably going to be really close. Again, we'll talk about predictions a little bit later in terms of who's going to win, but the ramifications are quite huge as we sort of prefaced. The loser, well, they're going to be in relegations, are they? Or they basically need to win one more after this if they lose?
The loser of LFO Rhythm will be out completely.
Okay, so they'll be bottom 2, which is a fat rip. You'll have to fight your way through the Challenger Series, which could be tough. Not sure what tier 2 teams are rising through the top, but I'm sure there'll be some competition for them.
Who do you have winning this one, Guzz?
Rhythm.
So I think this is going to be split, right? I feel like there's definitely a camp of LFO and a camp of Rhythm.
I think LFO would be favourites, but I'm still backing Rhythm. I think that Rhythm have showed more promise, and LFO will be under a lot of pressure. And we don't, and I personally don't think they can deal with that pressure as much as Rhythm. I feel like Rhythm going into this don't have as much to lose because they probably weren't expecting necessarily to be a good chance of escaping the bottom 2. So they'll just go and be like, yeah, we'll give it everything we got. If we make bottom 2, we make bottom 2. Whereas LFO, I think, especially after performing well on Six Masters 2020, have a bit of pressure going into this season to back that up, and so far they haven't. So if they lose again here, or heading into this one, they're gonna have a lot of pressure not to lose them.
Thoughts fast?
Yeah, I actually don't really know who I have for this, but I kind of agree. Like, I don't think, the victory will be like who have the better strats. I really agree with that. I think it will be very scrappy and hard fought. I do wonder what the mentality of these teams are like right now. I think that could play a factor because they're both kind of in a similar situation. And it does depend on the map. There's a lot of factors, but I want to back Rhythm here. I really want to see them get a win because I feel like they've had some really good performances, and I feel like they've been so close, and just something to kind of kickstart them and get them in the right direction. So I'm backing them.
Yeah, I think you brought up a good point about mindset as well, and I think that is going to be a factor in both these teams are going to be feeling quite a bit of pressure. But personally, I feel like LFO is maybe feeling it more so because they would have expected more from themselves out of this season.
Yep.
And the fact that if they lose this, they are going to be hard stuck bottom 2. I think that's a big deal that's going to be weighing on them. Whereas, like, I can't remember who said the point now, but Rhythm, like, they probably weren't fully expecting to get too far out of the bottom 2, if at all. So, Guzz, yeah, nice. So yeah, like, I think that is probably a factor. See how they deal with it.
I understand. So you're going Rhythm as well, Raven? Is that your?
See, look, I honestly, this is so hard to call because I feel like if you take like the Wobblies out of the way, I feel like LFO would actually win the game. But I think when you factor
LFO are the better team, I believe.
I will have to check
mentality is going to be king in this match.
I don't remember who I tipped because that's how close it is. Like, I honestly cannot remember who I tipped. I think I went LFO.
Look, so I'm going LFO here for a couple of reasons. I always try and look at it from the statistics and technical standpoints, not just off the gut feel of like, oh, Rhythm, the underdog story, blah blah blah. LFO played Wildcard, Pittsburgh, and they also played Noble. That was their first 3 matches. Like, that's a rough start. You don't get much of a break there. So you pretty much off the back, you're going to go 0-3. Now, they went 7-4 against Wildcard. They got completely destroyed against Pittsburgh. It happens. Vas can attest to that with the 7-2. Sometimes you just have a bad night. And then they were a lot better against Noble, 7-5. And then the Akami matchup, which, ultimately I actually tipped Akami. Akami were in a similar position coming off the loss against Aleve, and it was really kind of like either team had to win it, and Akami was just better in that regard, 7-4. But I think that LFO are better than Rhythm, and while I say that Rhythm have been probably... It's so tough because if you take out their performance against Wildcard, and I know they pushed Elevate, which, no offense, Fast, but at that time you guys weren't quite as good as where you're probably at now. A bit of a struggle to the start of the season. It's the most 50-50 matchup that it really can be, which is very disappointing for LFO. But I did say Obviously, going into Six Masters, there was no expectations. Then they started to perform, and they've built those expectations. It's just they haven't had a chance now. They play Rhythm, they then play Elevate, they then play Ferox. However you want to put it, it's certainly a much easier run home than it was for the start for Alpha. They win this, they give themselves a big chance of being able to make playoffs and potentially win their 3 out of 3 games to finish off the season. A 3-4 season's not that bad. So there's a lot on the line, and the rewards are on the other side, provided they win this. And knowing Enigma, he'll pump them up, he'll get them going. I understand that there's the pressure there that you were talking about, Guzz, and maybe some teams don't handle the pressure well. We're about to find out. That's all I can say. If Alpha lose this game, I think they definitely don't win any of their last 2 games because they got nothing to play for. And quite frankly, I would probably say there might even be some roster changes to come. If they can even make it out of relegation. So there's a bit of work there to do, provided they lose this. So it's kind of like that fork in the road in life. You win this,
I feel that.
You got that pathway to playoffs, and maybe you can turn things around with this roster. You lose this, and maybe you're going to have to redo it a bit and rejig some pieces, maybe drop a few players. And for Rhythm, I don't see that same fork. They can lose this, and that's okay, because they're at a different point, I think, than LFO. But I have LFO winning the matchup, and now we move on to the big Titan v Titan wildcard versus Knights. Knights right now, Knights feel like wildcard from Six Masters in terms of they're undefeated.
Yeah, I feel that.
After 2 weeks, strong map differential, so they're winning their games comfortably. Wildcard have only dropped 1 game though, and it was to Noble 8-7, the closest match we've had all season. While they were getting stomped in that game, they brought it back, and they kind of showed us the wildcard of old. It's definitely going to be Knights' toughest test. But for wildcard, I think it's also going to be kind of like Noble 2.0 here. The question is, will they be able to overcome this hurdle this time? And I think they will be. I think the Noble loss will have woken up wildcard a bit. Against a team like Knights, they'll be better prepared for a closer matchup rather than just sort of steamrolling through the competition like they did for all the Six Masters. And they've had that wake-up call already. Knights don't need to deliver a second one. So I have wildcard winning this, probably either 7-5 or a close 1 in OT.
I'm thinking.
I
you go, guys. You go. No, you go.
Yeah, I am also backing PK into this one. The only real asterisk mark I have against that result is probably 2 things. One, do the big players from each team step up? So does Vinny step up for wildcard? Does Hayward step up for PK? If either of those players perform poorly, their team is probably going to perform
Vinny's,
poorly.
I don't even, like right now, Vinny's not even their big player. It's Geo.
Yeah, you could make that argument. Either way, big players need to step up, but that, again, is a pretty general statement for any matchup. The second point would be, how much do PK change the way they play? Because I don't want to throw any shade at Vast, but as he sort of mentioned earlier, maybe they change their playstyle a little bit too much for wildcard instead of playing their own game. I could envision a scenario where PK head into this one and freak out a little bit and go, oh, we need to play passive, or we need to change this up because wildcard are going to destroy us doing this. Whereas I would be encouraging them to adopt the playstyle that they've put in these performances, and they're in the position that they're at because they're playing this really strong, confident playstyle. So if they keep playing like that, I don't think they'll have too many issues. And even if they don't adapt the way they play and they perform poorly, at least that gives them a decent benchmark, and they can then improve upon those mistakes. If they go into this one changing everything up and get smashed, then they haven't learnt anything. So I think it's important they approach it. Approach it in the same way they've approached all the other games.
So what I was going to say is I feel like this is going to come down to the map veto a little bit. I think if the Knights can get a bit of a defense-heavy map, the Knights will be able to lock in their defenses, their comfort. As Vast said, I agree. I think the Knights have had the best defenses in the region with this season. And I would back the Knights to be winning more attack rounds in a map like that than Wildcard. Because Wildcard do have... on most of the maps we've seen them play in this season, their attacks are very much a grab bag of either late executes that go 50-50, they work or they don't, or they kind of just never get anywhere. They still haven't fully solved their issue of stalling out a lot. They really do go for that utility clear. and be very methodical and structured. We saw them do some more aggressive attacks against Elevate, for example, that last round on Consulate. They saw that opening and they just kind of rushed almost. But I think that's where it's important the Knights control the map, because if that could have been a different map and not Consulate, I don't really feel like Wildcard would have had such comfort or confidence.
I think I agree with you.
You think you
Knights, if Knights, I'm thinking Oregon. I think if Knights go to Oregon,
Nah,
and they
Wildcard
No?
will insta-ban Oregon. They've insta-banned it throughout the season.
Well-
They also got smacked by them in the major, so they're definitely not going to Oregon. I will
Thank you.
bet. I will bet my.
No, that's good. That's
I
fine. It
have
just backs up my
life on
point
it.
here. I was
It does
going
back
to
up your
say that I think if Knights had have been able to get Oregon, I think Knights defensively would have been able to win those kids rounds, for instance, and been able to shut out Wildcard pretty comfortably. So obviously, yeah. Well, if they're going to ban it, then there's a reason why.
Yeah.
Vast, I really want your thoughts here on this one.
Yeah, I agree with all the points. I feel like both these teams have pretty similar map pools, except like maybe when it gets closer to the bottom, it's like, you know, Knights like Oregon, maybe Wildcard like something else a bit more than them. But yeah, I feel like both teams' best maps are very similar. So I feel like it's gonna just come, because I feel like Wildcard, except for our game, I feel like before their attacks have been looking a bit, sometimes a bit too slow. So I agree with what you said, Raven. So I don't really know. I think it's going to be a really close game, and I just think I feel like maybe I feel like Knights do need to be a bit more risky on the attack as well. But yeah, I don't even know how this game's going to turn out, but I'm really excited to watch it.
Yeah.
That's like 3 matchups that are just like
I know, right?
Flip a coin.
It's a big
coin.
night.
And then who knows? Maybe Akami just like flip a switch and pull something out of the hat against Noble. I think this is probably going to be the best play day for the season.
At least
I
have
do
the
have
best
to back-
casters for it. So that's good.
I do have to back someone though, and I feel like from what I saw on Consulate against Wildcard, maybe they could be going back to that old form. Because versus them, they did feel like their old selves, and if that's the case, then I do have to back them. They have a lot more experience and whatnot, but definitely don't think it's going to be an easy game for whoever wins.
Definitely think it's going to be tight. To wrap it up, I really do think it's just going to be won or loss in the attacks. I think the Knights are probably a bit more agile in the way they can change their attacks, whereas it's always felt like Wildcard. They've definitely tried, and sometimes their attacks will come out differently, but more often than not, I feel like it's not. Guzz definitely wants to say something.
No, I think it was
I'm just mocking Zenox.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
This
Okay.
is also the battle for first as well.
Yeah, I guess so,
because
yeah.
if Wildcard do win this, they'll have the head-to-head, provided, of course, both teams sort of go on and win their remaining matchups. Which Wildcard's got Ferox and then Akami. For Knights, they've got
Well, actually, it won't
Akami and then
be-
Rhythm.
If Noble win, they'll take first. If Wildcard win, because they won the head-to-head.
Well,
So,
that's true, but you're the
wrecked.
one who's going around saying that Noble's going to still drop another map somewhere.
Well, they've already dropped the map, mate. I'm already right. They go flawless now. I'm telling you.
Well, yeah. So if Wildcard do win this, then we can have a 3-way tie for first at the end of the season.
That's spicy.
Could do.
That is spicy. Yeah.
All right.
Otherwise,
let's,
if Knights do win this, then they lock up first place.
Let's start smashing down Playday 6, because look, Playday 5, like we said about 100 times, there are some big matchups in that.
This one's
in
boring.
that day. It's not
Yeah,
boring.
give it to the tier 2 casters, I reckon.
Knights will beat Akami, Elevate will beat LFO, Noble will beat Rhythm, Wildcard will beat Ferox. Done. All right.
Done.
Cool. Let's go.
Look, I think we can breeze through a few of these. Knights Akami, I think, is definitely going to be a bit one-sided there. I would be very surprised if Akami managed to reel their form back to a point where they can like really compete head-to-head with the Knights. So I'm happy to breeze past that. Ultimately, the main game I would want to talk about here is Wildcard Ferox, right? I think that is probably the one with the biggest potential for an upset, because...
Nah, I think LFO, if we're going to be realistic here, now this is off the back of what happens more on Playday 5. If LFO do beat Rhythm, there's a massive game for them. Regardless of Vast being in here, if LFO do get that win against Rhythm, if they can find a bit of form, and if Elevate's just that 5-10% off, there's no reason why they couldn't win it, right?
Did you notice he just said Elevo? Like, are you talking about
Elevate.
Elevate or LFO, mate?
Maybe they're
Feel
gonna
like-
merge.
Make your mind
I
up.
don't know. LFO, Elevate, they kind of sound the same at the start. Okay, listen. The point is that Elevate has to be making sure they don't slip up here. And for because LFO, if they do beat Rhythm, they're gonna have to throw everything into this game, right, to get that second round win. And I think that's a big talking point before we go further down.
Yeah, look, I do agree. What would you have to say about that, Voss?
Yeah, I totally agree, and we're definitely going to have that mentality. Like, we know they're good players. They might be struggling right now with a lot of cohesion and teamwork, but we definitely know they're not bad players. So
yeah,
we're not going to underestimate them. Yeah, we do feel confident though. We've watched their games and we can see some habits and stuff like that. But yeah, I think I agree with the whole the rhythm game will definitely play a part in our game against LFO as well, depending on the outcome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Noble Rhythm, I guess we're not really feeling.
Noble
do you think if
7-1.
do you think if Rhythm get the win?
Is if Rhythm can do what they did against Wildcard and just really push a top team, and that's really what I want to see. I want to see it just be close. 7-5, 7-4 is good. Even 7-3, 7-5, 7-4. If you Rhythm and you're really pushing forward. The other thing, of course, if they do beat LFO,
yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Giving that same mantra, Rhythm, of course. Well, I don't have them beating Noble. You definitely want to see them take it right up to them and try and maybe send it to OT 7-5. You know, so.
I mean, Noble might. The only asterisk again that I would put on this match is Noble might lift the foot off the accelerator a little bit. But that is again dependent on round 5. Again, Noble in probably all of these last 3 matches aren't going to be revealing a whole lot. So it'll come back to that mentality of are they going to push Rhythm really hard? Are they going to just play it as they see it? I don't know. But Noble should still win it.
Is their very last matchup is against Pittsburgh. So even if you can somehow beat Noble after beating Alpha, then you've got to go and beat the Knights who...
Yeah, easy, mate. Easy dubs.
Yeah. Easy dubs.
Maybe, look, hey, last round, if Knights are still undefeated by the last round, maybe they're just going to...
Well, they have to lose one game in the season.
They'll
it's
play
the
it a
ANZ
bit
curse.
loose.
So.
They'll play it a bit loose, and maybe they'll be capitalized on. I don't know. Stranger things have happened.
I think so. For wildcard Ferox, though, dropping down to the final game of the week, wildcard heavy favorites. This is just the sort of litmus test for Ferox. Where are you really at? Are you like close to contending? Are you close to mixing it with the big boys, or are you firmly middle of the pack and you're just going to be able to beat the teams around you, definitely beat up on the teams below you, every now and then drop to a couple of games around the teams around you, but you're never going to contest against like sort of the not big. I don't want to say big 3, but just sort of the 3 teams above them, which is Noble Knights wildcard. So it's just a big test for them, and I don't think the matchup against Elevate's going to have any credence to this matchup for Ferox, whether they win against Elevate or they lose against Elevate. I think this is just a very separate setup, and I wouldn't be surprised if they do kind of play this similar to like what Vast and Elevate tried to kind of do and have something particular for wildcard. Ferox might want to take them to coastline if possible, where wildcard struggled against Rhythm. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is just a big test game for them, see where they're at, and then Ferox, their last game is against LFO, so they got a much more winnable game there.
I'd say the real connection here is actually the Ferox Pittsburgh game, where it was 5-7, so obviously quite close. I feel like that's where Ferox will probably draw some confidence for this wildcard matchup. And yeah, I think this can come down to the map as well, because I mean, wildcard do have a deep map pool, but there will be some maps where I could see Ferox's playstyle really being a total pain for wildcard to deal with. And sometimes you don't know, like they could get into just a bad place, whether it's mindset, or they might just find that their adaptations aren't quite working because Ferox can play that kind of aggressive, a little bit unpredictable way. Shade sometimes somehow manages to always slip through on flanks. That kind of thing has happened to wildcard in the past. I think it was Pro League Season 11 in particular. Wildcard they got walloped by Fury, right, on Cafe. I think
Cafe,
Shade ended up getting like 16 kills, and like I reckon half of them were on a flank. It's definitely possible, but I'd be surprised if Wildcard lost. But I could see this being close, even at maybe an overtime game, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at this match on paper, it's a wildcard heavy favourites, but I'd also say it's the one match of the evening that has the highest chance of being an upset against the favourite.
Yeah.
I don't really have anything to back it up. It's a bit of just a gut instinct. I'm just a little bit scared that wildcard might have a little bit of complacency heading into this one, but I'm just talking absolute rubbish. So.
Or are they building into form? This is the thing, you know, as Vas said in that matchup against Elevate, they did look like the wild card of old. If they beat Pittsburgh and they're sort of, you know, full steam ahead, then I think they'll just run over Ferox and it could be 7-2, 7-3.
Sure.
Otherwise, I think for Ferox, 7-5 is what you want, because then you technically have lost 7-5 to Wildcard, 7-5 to Knights, 7-5 to Noble. You're close, just not quite there, and it gives you maybe something for the next season to aspire to, which is to actually get a win there against any of those sort of top teams. Yeah, Wildcard win it.
Yep.
I guess me last.
Yeah. Go for it.
I agree with everything. Again, there's not really too much to go off of this game. It's a weird one. I agree. Yeah, if Wildcard informed, it's pretty obvious that they'll win. But yeah, in history, like just in the past, I guess Ferox have been able to, you know, get some maps off them. So, you know, who knows?
Yeah, I just want to add on to that. They've also been the team that, like, late season will pull off crazy upsets. Again, I don't want to bring up season 10 again, but not even outside of that. Like, they were the team in season, I think it was season 11 when they played Wildcard on Cafe. I can't remember exactly what season it was of, but it was definitely on Cafe. And Ferox was just running around wild, causing all these headaches for Wildcard back when they had Derp still on the squad, I believe. So Ferox is that team that can just like do crazy stuff back end of the season and throw teams off for sure.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it could go like that. So, see.
Cool. All right. Well, we've basically just kind of gone through our predictions. I'm going to bring up the current leaderboard at the moment for the snowball predictions. So this is what we're looking at coming into this week. Zenox and I are out there on top. Poor old Ducky, he has not managed to claw back from the shocker opening week that he had down there on 8. Not really. I don't think it's really worth us recapping our predictions for the week because we really just did it. But there are some potentials here because I think there's going to be a few matches, like we said, that are real 50-50, and I would expect some of these predictions are going to be quite split.
100%. I'm probably going to be first after this week. So
you probably will be. I agree. I was going to say the same thing. I think this week there's going to be a lot more split, especially Playday 5. I think Playday 5 is going to be where the real money's had, right? Because like I already know of 2 that me and Guzz have gone against each other, right? So it's either going to be like 14-10 or we're both going to be on 12. There's no 2 ways around it, right? So I'm hoping 14-10. If I'm still on top after Playday 5, I win the whole thing. Just give me the trophy now.
Oh,
is there a trophy?
The call.
There isn't a trophy. It's just bragging rights, but that's probably more important, hey?
That's probably more important, yeah.
Just gonna put it out there, mate. Like I am tied with you. You know, it's not like you're out in the open field right now.
That's all right. That's okay.
I have faith in Zenox's ability.
Who wouldn't?
Got to back my duo, you know.
If he can't win it, he's got to back me to win it. This is how we would roll.
Yeah, one of us are winning it. At the end of the day, it's either me or Zenox winning it. So
it's all good fun, though. It's all good fun.
Yeah, it is. Great. Well, yeah, I think that's it for keeping Vast around. So thanks for joining us, Vast. It's been great having you on, getting your insight and analysis in particular, and just hearing the way you've talked about some of the other teams and the matchups that you guys have had. Quick plug for yourself if people wanted to keep up with you or your team. Like, where are the social places they could go?
Find us on Twitter, I guess. We don't really tweet often, but yeah, I guess you can follow us or you can look at you can follow the Elevate Twitter page if you want to see when our games are. We usually tweet when our games are, or whatnot. My personal Twitter is just _R6. So yeah, you can kind of follow me and see what I'm up to during the season.
Fantastic. Awesome. Well, we will quickly go to a short break and we'll be back to close the show with the giveaway winner announced as well, which has been running all night. So stay tuned. We'll be back very shortly. Some beautiful skins there in that R6 share ad. I tell you what, if you haven't been able to suss them out, definitely check them in the store in the Rainbow Six game because some of them are absolute beauties. My personal favorite is the G2 skin. I don't know about you guys, whether you've got a favorite out of this stack.
The Zenox skin.
Perfect.
It's coming. 2021.
I look forward to it, mate. I look forward to it.
G2, 100%.
Team Liquid.
Which other one's cool? The Vitality skin on the MPX is pretty neat as well. So yeah.
I like the
actually,
Let's Go Liquid on the gun.
Yeah, I have that one too. And just to add on to that, Elevate, of course, who Vast plays for, they got announced in Tier 3. So more details on that soon. But there will be an Elevate, I believe, weapon skin in the shop. Hopefully soon. So that's pretty exciting news, and that actually supports the players as well, which is also pretty huge as well.
Yeah. Really excited to see that come into the store. Pittsburgh Knights being the other team in Oceanic Nationals that will be getting cosmetics, getting a charm and a weapon skin. So definitely stay tuned for when they will be coming in the store. And the best place to stay tuned is going to be Rainbow Six ANZ on socials. You'll find us on Twitter, YouTube, Twitch. We have shows like The Reload running every week. The Reload in particular running every Tuesday from 8:30. And we also have Late Night Siege on Mondays at the moment while the season is on. That's running from 8 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. And of course, we have Oceanic Nationals running at the moment, as we've been talking about all night. It will be on Wednesday and Friday. Yes, Zenox, can you believe that?
Oh, no rank tomorrow night. Damn. It's going to organize a stack.
Classic dilemma. Now, before we do close the show, we will quickly announce the giveaway winner. I'll just jump into the little screen.
What are we giving away this evening, Raven?
We are giving away the new series of chibis. I wish we could give away Zenox because that would help with something. But also the Legacy Operator t-shirts, which I believe you have one of right here, Guzz.
There we go. I'll be wearing it. I'll wear it tomorrow night on the cast.
Do you come with the shirt?
I don't, but that's probably better, isn't it? So.
So look, it is a very cool t-shirt. It has the beta operator icons all through the shirt.
For the OGs. It's for the OGs like me. The old farts that have been playing this game for
By the way, the I don't want to say a meme. It's not a meme. The quote I just said, Raven. You know where that's from?
Which quote did you say? Totally over my head.
Do you come with that shirt?
I mean, I've heard it a lot, but I don't know where the origin is. No.
Now, guys, you're a little bit young, so have you heard of the show called The Simpsons?
I have. I wouldn't say I'm a Simpsons fan, though, so unfortunately, I don't understand the reference.
You're a Zoomer. It's okay. You don't understand good humor.
I'm pretty much the only non-boomer in the entire cast.
There's an episode from the late 90s where there was this, one of those car raffles where you sign up and there's the car in the mall. Homer walks up, he signs his name, and then there's a model standing with the car, and he says, "Do you come with the car?"
I remember this now.
Just explaining it for the Zoomers in chat. That's all.
Yeah. Doesn't everybody actually ask the same question? Wasn't that the joke, right? It's like everybody.
Well, no. So Homer leaves, and then the next guy comes. There's one guy that comes in behind, and he starts signing, "Do you come with the car?" And she's like, "Yeah." And then that's it. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Well, speaking of who gets what, who gets the prize, I'm going to roll it now, and it is going to be, I don't know how to say this name, I'm so sorry, Zydos? Haydos with a Z. Either way, congratulations, you have won the giveaway. I will be in touch via Twitch Whisper probably to sort out your contact information. And of course, if you are ineligible, I will just do a re-roll and contact a new winner later in the week. But yeah, big congrats. Hopefully you are all sorted. Well, guys, this has been a pretty big show. We have a pretty big week of Oceanic Nationals, if that has not been emphasized already. In particular, Wednesday, I think, is going to be shaping up
tomorrow night.
Some big plays.
Be there or be square. Be there or be square. Best casters, best matchups. Last time me and Zenox are casting together for the regular season, so it is a big event. Don't miss it.
This is also my last time on the reload as well. Until the big finale one. So that means also no Zenox sexy player of the week for 2 weeks.
How will people survive, mate? I can't understand.
Don't be surprised if viewership drops. But anyway, look, as Guzz said, tomorrow night will also be our last cast until the old playoffs begin. So I feel like I'm going on holidays after tomorrow.
Something like that. Short holiday, tell you what, Zenox. Great. Well, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. I'm going to stop Zenox before he starts on another ramble about how beautiful his sexy players are or something like that.
Can I just say before we go? No. No, I'm joking.
I was going to say, you're joking. I'm sure you're joking.
Love you both. It's been a pleasure. It's been fun. Yeah, all right. Time to wrap up the show.
All right. Catch these guys tomorrow night, Oceanic Nationals. We'll see you there.